So I'm Laura and I'm fourth year.
I'm Prudence Mekongue. I am a fourth year fashion design student. My collection, I just went straight into like drawing. I don't really know. Yeah, I did like my research because I probably started the research way before I thought about what I really wanted to do. But my collection is centered around like it's called the Town Cry collection, and it's basically based on my West African heritage and kind of there is this famous civil rights activist and writer called James Baldwin. So my main aim with my collection was just to bring awareness to his work and how timely it is with everything happening with the racism in the world generally. So my collection was basically to shine a light on his work and how he can be considered like a town crier from like where I'm actually from. So for that, I like incorporated like many like bits and pieces from here and there, like from my culture, and basically like taking aspects also from across the world.
This is kind of like I did like a lot of collage and just trying to create an atmosphere like of what I kind of have learned but also want to explore at the same time throughout like the 4 years that we've endured so far. So I did like some collaging to help me kind of like explore everything and create something new from everything that didn't really come from the same place. That's kind of like my theme a little bit. So this is like a collage that I created, and it kind of encompasses the mixing and matching that I really wanted for my collection. And in that way, I wanted to incorporate sustainability. And I haven't really like explored that too much because we've been so busy learning different techniques that this is really our first time to like hone down on like what do we actually want to say as designers. So I wanted to create a collection that was full of like layering, so you can really mix and match pieces within your own wardrobe or with the collection itself, and have like some really statement pieces or some pieces that were just more elevated or more unique, but they were still pretty simple. So yeah, that's kind of like the basis of it, and I just like ran from there, and hopefully it turns out. We're still working on it, so. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know if this is like everyone else in the program, but we've been working so hard like 4 years, but it's kind of, we're in a position where obviously we're in a creative industry, and it's kind of hard to say where that will actually even lead us, because I feel like a lot of other programs, it's kind of more like you know what you're going to be doing because of like the course that you're in, but for us, like there's so many avenues we can go into, and it's hard to like come out of this with like a set job already like in place. But I'd really like to start like my own smaller business. I don't even know if that's going to be like collection wise, more like smaller pieces, something that's easier for just like one person to kind of start up. That's what I would like to do. But then also if like you want to go into the industry, I think it would be really cool to be like a buyer or something. So yeah, it's not really set in stone for me, but that's kind of where I see myself like kind of dabbling here and there for a while. So I don't really know.
It's more of like, especially with everything happening now.
Yeah.
I think my vision, first of all, for the fashion industry, right? I especially believe in timeless pieces. So I think that's where I'm heading towards. I don't believe in like buying so many things and like disposing of it. So I would rather like focus on creating things that people can pass down to their like kids, or if you want to give it to somebody else, like, and something that someone will cherish. I think that's where I'm heading to. And especially now with like the whole pandemic situation, I don't want to say people are not, I think people are buying, but like the purchasing rate probably is limited or something like that. So I think that's where I'm heading towards. But after graduating, for me, it's more of starting something, like starting my own business. And what I'm thinking about right now is starting like with the bomber jacket, because that's something I've wanted to do like for a long time, because I think it's something you can wear throughout the year, right? So I really just want to focus on that first and get a job.
I don't know. I think for me, I really chose fashion like last minute. Like I never thought that I would actually like go to school for this. Just not because anyone was saying that I couldn't, but just I guess society played a part in it where it's like, oh no, you have good enough grades, you should like you're gonna be like, I don't know, going into nursing or teaching or something like more academic, you know what I mean? So I just like thought I would just do that, and then when I really like sat down and was like literally about to apply to like courses and stuff and schools, I realized that I did not want. I was like, oh, this is like okay, I guess this is like teaching, or this is like psychology or whatever, but like, do I really want to do that? And then I saw the fashion program, and I'm like, oh, this looks sick though. This looks fun, and I kind of want to do that. I actually want to go to school every day to do that. So that's what I did. And so I kind of didn't have too many expectations, and I'm glad I didn't, because now, like I mentioned, like we're in fourth year, we're graduating, and the future is really unknown. And at least I can say like, okay, I have all these skills, and I'm not like looking forward to one specific thing in the industry, because there's so much and it's so much changing that it's hard to say like what we're gonna do, right? So I think with have lower expectation, because not everyone's going to come out and be like a famous fashion designer like McQueen or whoever. Of course that can happen, but is that what the fashion industry is going to be about in the future? I don't think so, honestly. I think it's going to be smaller brands with more ethics involved, and more of that innovation in terms of being sustainable or being ethical, being local, giving back to communities, all these things that if we want in the world, we have to be the ones to do it. So I think not following trends is a big one, and then creating your own thing, because that's what a lot of people are wanting these days. And that's the only way that you as a designer can grow, is if you follow like what you think is good, what you think is cool. And your teachers are going to tell you like certain things, and you should listen to them to an extent, but also like be able to argue or like prove your point almost in a way that you're like, okay, I want to do this because of this and this and this, and do it. Just like run with it. And then as long as you create something and it's good, it'll work out.
I think you just said it all. But another thing is like, you just have to be focused, and you should know like it's not easy. That I don't want to say that a lot of late nights, some people go without late nights, right? It just depends on what you want to do, the complexity on what you're working on. Because sometimes you might have sleepless nights, sometimes you might go to bed like early, it doesn't really matter. And there are distractions here and there, and I know many people easily get caught up in distractions. Maybe you're working and you're like, oh, maybe I should be watching this series while I'm working, and you find yourself like watching the series without working and stuff like that, right? So it happens, but like you have to be focused and know what you want. That's all I have.
I think first year, second year, and those first years when you're designing a lot and you're sketching 40 plus designs, you're kind of told that you have to get through a lot of designs before you get to the good ones. And I always felt that was kind of not true. I don't know, I always would design one thing, or I'd hear the project brief and I'd be like, oh my God, like I have this amazing idea for this, or I really love this idea and I really want to do it. And then we would be like, we would be told you have to do a bunch, and your first are never the best ones. I think that's a lie. And we've actually had like guest speakers in classes the past couple weeks on Zoom, and they're designers, they're established, they're in some sort of industry, and they have been saying that usually their first design is the one they go with, the best one. And I'm just like, why are you guys lying to me? And I found that my first idea, my first design is probably my better one, because it's like something that you're passionate about. It comes to your brain because it's there. You're a creative person and you've created it already. You know what I mean? So maybe trust yourself in terms of like what you think is probably your best. But don't just do that because it's the easiest, because you've already thought of it. But definitely work to elevate it. But I think you can be confident in yourself more.
Yeah, just to continue what Laura was saying, just try to, as you said, you should try not to do like things that are too simple. Or yeah, it can be simple, but they're like, because they say like the simplest things are not like the easiest to make, right? But there should be something like you're always learning. You should always be learning something new, right? Because I think that's the main aim. You can't go to like fashion school and say, yeah, in fashion school, and probably they tell you like move this dart to like maybe the armhole. Like you can't really figure that part out, right? So I just don't. I just think like any project you take, like you should be able to learn something new. Yeah.